oblivion, monsters of steel and fire, their hulls thick enough to shrug off anything short of planetary weaponry. From the Luna shipyards came swarms of cruisers, sleek and bristling with weapons no alien had ever seen. From Earth's oceans, hidden beneath centuries of secrecy, Leviathan carriers broke the waves and ascended into orbit. The silence fractured further when a single transmission spread across the galaxy, brief and chilling. "You drew blood, now we answer." The galaxy went still. That was not the voice of diplomats, that was the voice of vengeance. The march of retribution. Humanity did not posture, they did not bargain, they moved. The first Dominion fleet, stationed near the rim, vanished within hours. Surveillance buoys caught only fragments, a sudden distortion in space-time, then the emergence of Terran warships. In the footage, human vessels didn't fight with hesitation, they struck like executioners. Orbital cannons unleashed beams that tore ships apart in seconds. Drop pods rained onto planets, disgorging soldiers in black armor who advanced without fear, without pause, like the storms of Earth's forgotten mythologies. World after world burned, not in cruelty but in ruthless precision. Civilian populations were untouched, military garrisons were annihilated. Entire Dominion fleets surrendered or were erased. Humanity's response was not loud, it was absolute. For every colony destroyed, 10 Dominion strongholds fell. For every envoy murdered, a dozen admirals were silenced. Humanity did not negotiate, they retaliated. The Dominion's leaders, who once feasted and mocked, now huddled in fear, their broadcasts cut short by jamming waves. Every transmission carried a single chilling echo. From silence fire. The fire unleashed. It became a storm. At Dragil Prime, the Cathari's third-largest shipyard, they gathered a fleet of 500 warships, an armada meant to crush humanity's retaliation once and for all. The galaxy held its breath, expecting a decisive clash. What emerged was not a battle, it was annihilation. Humanity's fleets descended in formations that blotted out the stars. Carriers opened, unleashing swarms of drones, each one armed with weaponry beyond Cathari comprehension. Rail cannons fired slugs the size of buildings, piercing through multiple ships in a single shot. Orbital kinetic strikes rained down, turning fortresses into molten scars. The Cathari's proud fleet lasted minutes. Their commanders screamed into comms, begging for reinforcements, but reinforcements never arrived. Dragil Prime itself, its shipyards, its defense grids, its orbital platforms, was erased in a single coordinated strike. The galaxy gasped. No one had ever seen such precision, such cold ruthlessness. It was not war, it was vengeance embodied in fire. The Dominion shattered. As the retaliation spread, the Dominion crumbled. Worlds once loyal began to rebel, terrified of sharing their master's fate. Soldiers deserted, unwilling to face the Terran storm. Fleets surrendered before battles began, jettisoning weapons and begging for mercy that never came. Humanity was not merciless, but they were unrelenting. Those who resisted were destroyed. Those who surrendered were spared but marked forever as subjects under Terran watch. Dominion High Lords were dragged from their palaces, their symbols of power reduced to rubble. And still Earth said nothing. No speeches, no declarations of conquest, only silence punctuated by fire. The whispers of the galaxy. When it ended, there was no treaty, no grand ceremony, only ruins, silence, and the terrified whispers of survivors. In the markets of neutral worlds, traders spoke in hushed voices. The Terrans do not forgive. In the council chambers of rival empires, leaders swore never to provoke Earth. In the darkest corners of the galaxy, Even warlords hesitated at the thought of crossing humanity. One phrase spread like wildfire across the stars, whispered by soldiers, civilians, even former enemies. Never provoke Earth again. For the galaxy had learned a truth that could not be forgotten. Humanity's patience was vast, their silence heavy with restraint. But once that silence broke, once the fire was unleashed, their vengeance was infinite. Epilogue from Silence Fire. In the aftermath, the ruins of Cathari world still smoldered. The Dominion, once a terror of the stars, was reduced to fragments. Other empires watched, waited, and trembled. Humanity returned to silence. Their fleets withdrew, their soldiers stood down, and Earth spoke not a word of conquest. But the message remained. The galaxy had seen what happens when patience is mistaken for weakness. They had witnessed the storm that follows arrogance, and they would never forget. For humanity's vengeance was not just an answer. It was a promise. The first screams of flame came at dawn over the human colony of Origa 7. The Dravari warships cut through the atmosphere like blades, their hulls glistening with alien sigils, their weapons eager for blood. They did not strike military targets. They did not challenge Earth's fleets in open battle. Instead, they rained plasma fire on farms, schools, and marketplaces. The colony's skies became rivers of fire, oceans of ash. Children burned inside evacuation shelters. Families suffocated in collapsing tunnels. The aliens' broadcast filled the system as their bombardment thundered. Human expansion ends here. You are insects in a galaxy too vast for your kind. This world is a warning. The Dravari laughed as their fleets pulled back, leaving nothing but corpses and silence behind. Origa 7 was gone, its people erased. And the galaxy nodded, some in agreement, others in fear. Humanity, they said, would do nothing. Humans were too young, too merciful, too bound by treaties. They would cry, they would mourn, but they would never strike back. How wrong they were. The mockery of silence. In the galactic councils, the Dravari sat proud. Their commanders toasted victory with cups of molten amber. The humans will weep, but they will not move, their chieftain sneered, tapping his claw against a hollow map of human space. They speak of honor, of restraint. They fear escalation, and we have shown them their place. Other species nodded. For centuries, humanity had been the patient ones, the diplomats, the mediators, the peacekeepers. Yes, they had powerful fleets, but they kept them leashed. Yes, they had armies forged from steel and fire, but they used them sparingly, always under banners of law and justice. The galaxy believed humanity had no appetite for vengeance. So the Dravari mocked. They sang songs of Origa's burning. They sold trinkets shaped like human skulls in their markets. Their children played games where they reenacted human civilians running from fire. And still Earth was silent. No message, no retaliation, nothing but the void. The Dravari mistook that silence for weakness. But silence is never weakness. Silence is a storm gathering. When silence breaks, it began with a ripple, a faint whisper across the stars. Dravari patrol ships reported vanishing in empty space. A border outpost sent a desperate distress call before being swallowed whole by darkness. And then the silence shattered. On every frequency, across every channel, a single human message roared into the void. Origa remembers. Then came the fleets. The stars over Dravari space dimmed, eclipsed by the shadows of human dreadnoughts, massive vessels the size of cities, their hulls black and burning with the fury of reactors caged for too long. Carriers vomited squadrons of gunships, their engines howling like wolves. Siege platforms unfolded, their weapons locking on entire worlds. And at the heart of it all, the flagship Leviathan, a fortress of steel and vengeance. Human commanders did not send ambassadors. They did not request negotiations. The only words they spoke were transmitted directly to the Dravari High Council. You set fire to children, now we bring fire to your stars. The galaxy held its breath. Fire unleashed. The retaliation was not war. It was execution. Dravari fleets formed up proudly, their admirals boasting that humans would break against them. They had fought empires before, crushed rebellions, enslaved systems. They thought humanity would fight fair. Humanity did not fight fair. They struck like predators, swift, merciless, calculated. First, the human fleets cut through supply lines, leaving Dravari ships starved of fuel and ammunition. Then they unleashed weapons no alien had seen before, kinetic slugs the size of skyscrapers, fired at near-light speed, tearing through battleships as though they were made of glass. Dravari worlds burned, orbital defenses blinked out in seconds, entire cities vanished under the thunder of precision strikes. Human soldiers descended on planets like storms of iron. Clad in armor that turned plasma to sparks, they advanced without fear, without mercy. Civilian populations were spared. Humanity's wrath was not mindless